And this hangout is live. Konnichiwa, bitches. This is the Commish coming at you with the UML podcast off-season edition. And this episode is dedicated to the Dad Punchers state of the franchise. I'm joined here, as always, by Connor Hemian, UML runner-up. How you doing, Connor?
Oh, I had to throw that one in there, huh?
Yeah, I had to.
All right, I'm doing all right.
Nice. Thanks for getting up at the crack of 10 a.m. to do this for us. We're going to talk a little Super Bowl, some of the quarterbacks that have been moving around or getting new contracts and what have you this offseason, and then we'll get into the Dad Puncher state of the franchise here. So first things first, what did you think of the Super Bowl?
Well, I missed the first half.
Ugh.
Got right in just in time to see Justin Timberlake, which, was like, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't good either. I don't know.
I've already forgotten it.
Yeah. And then, but I did get to watch the highlight from the first half of Tom Brady dropping a pass. And that's the highlight of my Super Bowl. I will remember it forever, always.
Well, like Tom Brady drops a pass and Nick Foles catches one in the same game. So.
It's like, yeah, that was, and of course, I'm thrilled to see the Patriots lose. I mean, it's the Eagles win, but I'll take it because the Patriots.
Yeah, I was telling my dad that I especially don't like the result of the Super Bowl because the Eagles sucked all the fun out of a Patriots loss for me. It was kind of like when the Giants won a few years ago.
Twice.
Yeah, twice. And you're like, oh, yeah, Patriots lose, but then like the Giants win, so you can't enjoy it at all. So,
swear to God, if the next team goes to Redskins and Dallas is the only one that can't beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl, like that would be the best Super Bowl for me. Is watching the Cowboys
beat the Patriots. If the Cowboys make it to the Super Bowl, I do not want to see the Patriots in it at all. That's true, personally. Well, I hope like some bullshit Joe Flacco led Ravens team gets in, and that's the team they play against.
Oh, is he still a quarterback? Last year he should retire after that year. But
I don't know, he sucks in general. I have been on the Joe Flacco sucks bandwagon and have not gotten off the entire time. For the record. All right, so why don't we go ahead and jump into this Alex Smith trade a couple weeks back. The Redskins traded a third-round draft pick and young star corner Kendall Fuller to Kansas City in exchange for quarterback Alex Smith, who they then gave a 4-year, like $1 billion contract to. That because they apparently can pay him, but not Kirk Cousins. What are your thoughts on this one?
When I saw what they gave away and I saw the amount of money he was getting, I had this flash to Jay Cutler's deal in Chicago, where I just looked at that deal and I was like, they're just fucked for the next like 3-4 years. Like Jay Cutler was much worse than I think than this situation is. But with what they gave away in the deal with a third-round draft, they've already are pretty much announcing that cornerback's probably going to be the starter. They cut Revis yesterday, I think.
Yeah.
So I've got a starting cornerback that could be really good for a long time, and they have a third-round pick. And they don't have to deal with that ridiculously large contract that the Redskins decided to give them.
Yeah, my biggest thing is like if you're going to give a quarterback that kind of money, why not just give it to Kirk Cousins? I don't think that. I don't think there's much difference in the two players, to be perfectly honest.
No. Maybe Cousins is a little bit ballsier, but that's about the only difference.
Yeah, but I mean, Smith's a little more athletic. I mean, it kind of feels like trading for the sake of trading, to be honest. But hey, like I think it makes the Redskins overall worse because they gave up Kendall Fuller in that third-round pick. So I'm all for it. And plus, it clears the path for Patrick Mahomes to start for the Muppets. So,
which could be good. Could be good.
It could be good. Well, I have the entire Chiefs offense, so I really hope it is good. Except for Travis Kelce. Pat, hit me up. What do you think this means for Kirk? Obviously, Kirk Cousins, it means he's out the door, without a doubt. What do we think? What do we think Kirk Cousins will get on the open market? I guess we could talk about Jimmy G first. 5 years, $137 million.
Well, yeah, that's about to say. I'm sure he's probably jumping for joy right now because.
Well, right, but why did that's a lot of money? I mean, isn't the franchise tag? I mean, I know it's to protect your best players from getting into free agency, but in reality, what it's been for NFL teams is okay. Go like here's 1 year of getting paid like a superstar. Go prove it, and then I'll pay you for 5 years like a superstar. Like, why would you not franchise tag Jimmy Garoppolo here?
I feel like it's this new wave of dealing. It's just like with Derek Carr last year. I mean, look at him this year. He was not as good at all. But I feel like the league right now is just jumping on any kind of long-term quarterback. They see special in them. They say, we've got to lock this guy up and make our team built around him. And
everyone except the Redskins, right? Yeah.
Like they don't understand what their cap is anymore because it just keeps going up and they're just throwing money at people. And that happened again with Garoppolo. And he played half the season. Who knows what could happen within the next year?
Yeah, I mean, I thought he looked he looked great. I mean, like
I thought Derek Carr looked amazing, and now he looks kind of average. Hopefully this year with a new head coach that can change, but with Garoppolo it could be the same deal.
Yeah, and then they are fortunate enough where they're not really paying anybody else from that team that was in the Super Bowl a few years ago.
But
no one's left from that team.
They can't now they have to they could have gotten some big time pieces and had Garoppolo a little bit cheaper for a shorter period of time.
Yeah. Weird. But obviously that means Kirk Cousins is going to sign like a 6-year, $250 million contract. With who though? And because it's extremely fantasy relevant where he goes, because it's going to. I mean, presumably he's going to go somewhere that needs a quarterback and it's going to elevate the pieces, around him. So one of the places we keep seeing is Cleveland. They've obviously had we've all seen the jersey, right?
He better
just give him whatever he wants, get him to Cleveland, and then give him, the keys to an offense with, Duke Johnson and Josh Gordon, Corey Coleman, and David Njoku.
He's the type of guy that would totally love to be he is I feel like his integrity would be, I want to be the guy that changes Cleveland. I'm sure he'd love that.
Yeah, and plus it's and it's another situation where it's oh yeah, RG3 couldn't get it done, so here comes Kirk again to save the franchise. Should have taken me second overall instead of giving up everything to get. Yeah, the Redskins really suck, man.
Yeah,
they really suck at picking quarterbacks. But he's, he could go to the Jets, and once Robbie Anderson gets back from his suspension, that I don't know if he's gotten it yet, but he's getting it.
Oh, yeah.
And he can make that offense a lot better. A Browns offense though, you go and you sign Kirk Cousins, you draft Saquon Barkley, and then at the 4th pick you get whoever the best, Minka Fitzpatrick or something.
Do you think there's any chance that he takes a smaller deal to play with a team that could win?
No,
you don't think so?
No,
not even Larry Fitzgerald chatting up Cousins. I heard that was.
Maybe, but I don't think he's going to take less money to do it, or not significantly less. I don't see him signing a 5-year, $100 million contract with anyone. It could be the most win now team. Jacksonville could be a player for him. They seem content with Blake Bortles for whatever reason.
Yeah, I mean they made it pretty far in the playoffs.
Yeah, but even so, they sign $1 million free agents every year. And they have all this homegrown talent, yet they always. I don't know how the Jaguars always have salary cap space. I don't understand. Anyway, why don't we go ahead and jump into Joe's state of the franchise? I'll go ahead and throw on the.
I have some first before we jump into it. Just one last little bit.
Oh, sure.
I just saw an article on for this worries my dad's fantasy team. Le'Veon Bell does not want to be put on another franchise tag, and he says he's thinking about stepping away or retiring, is what his words are. I mean, I'm sure he's just playing it up, but that's not very good news for situation with Le'Veon Bell right now.
Yeah, I saw that whatever Rooney is in charge of the Steelers now, I forget, that they're trying to get the deal done, and they really want to bring Le'Veon Bell back. It's just I don't know. He wants a lot of money.
Yeah.
And he's a great player and everything, but he's a running back. And they used him a ton last year.
Yeah. That's
Almost kind of like a Dallas DeMarco Murray situation.
Yeah.
I mean, if he doesn't want to play in the franchise, I mean, if I were the Steelers personally, I'd just franchise tag him every year because you'll know when he starts to suck. Like, there's never been a running back. It's like, yeah, he might be losing a little bit of a step. It's like, no, they hit a brick wall and then that's it. Unless you're Frank Gore. But I don't. I mean, I have a hard. He wants $17 million a year, and I would never pay a running back that much money to be the second best player on his offense. I mean, granted, that's only because Antonio Brown's on that offense, but it is what it is.
Well, with Ben aging and no running game anymore, that'd be a huge blow.
It wouldn't necessarily be no running game. They could, go sign somebody else or draft somebody or what have you. They don't
as good, at least for this season.
I mean, there's no way they're going to be as good. I mean, I don't think like Todd Gurley, Ezekiel Elliott, or David Johnson are available via trade. So
yeah, already
it's not going to be as good. But anything that stops Kevin's chirping, I'm all for it. So I'm going to go ahead and throw on the screen share here. We'll look at the updated UML draft board,
which you can find linked at the top of the league page.
Yes, please stop asking me. It is on the top of the league page. You can see, which keepers have been done and whatnot. Also, PSA: if you do your keepers now, you can still drop players. You just can't re-add players to your list. So, for example, one of the players Joe dropped, we'll talk about here in a second, it was Amir Abdullah in the second round. He can't reclaim Amir Abdullah, but if for some reason he wanted to drop Todd Gurley, he can. So keep that in mind. Get your keepers done early. Thank you very much. Now, why don't we talk about Joe's last season? 4-9, lost to AJ in the first choice tournament. Do we think that Joe is in a situation where he kind of just packed it in a little early last year, and that's why his record was so bad? Or is this team really in a lot of trouble overall?
I think his team has been in a lot of trouble. And I think something he's done the past year or two is, if you look at what he has kept, he does have pieces that he's got a good backbone. Like, he's got things to build off of. He's got the running back, he's got the quarterback, his tight ends are set now. He's got pieces that he usually doesn't have. He doesn't usually have a young guy. I mean, with the way he treats his quarterbacks, they seem to always be plagued. So I hope for Watson's sake it doesn't happen with being on Joe's team. But I don't think he's ever really had these young, talented guys that he can build around. He usually had older vets, and he just kept on trying to find those rookies, and he couldn't really find them. And I think that he's really in a good position. I think he can maybe make the playoffs this year, this upcoming year. But I think that either way, he's definitely in the right direction. Whether he performs well or not may take a few years.
Sure, I agree. So what we'll do is we'll go round by round and talk about, we'll go round by round for the players he kept. Then we'll talk about some of the players he dropped and whether we think he should have kept / dropped those players. Round one, he kept Todd Gurley. A lot of people don't like to keep someone in round one, but if you're going to do it, Todd Gurley, about as good as it gets. There's very little chance he would get someone as good as Todd Gurley if he had thrown him back. Any problem with keeping Todd Gurley in the first?
I keep Ezekiel Elliott in the first round, and I would never look back, and I don't think you should either.
Good.
It's worth the price.
Definitely a good point. I mean, you like to have that first round pick, but best case scenario, you get somebody almost as good as Todd Gurley. So down here in round 6, he keeps Eric Ebron again. This is one of those players that just plays just well enough for Joe that he doesn't want to get rid of him.
Yeah, I don't love the round, and I've got his stats from last season up right now. He had a 19-point game, a 14-point game, 17. He had some good games, but he had a 2-point game. He had a stretch where he had 2 points, 4 points, and then 1 point, 1 point. A 6th round on that is, it's iffy. I think they're going to be on a new new coaching staff. So, maybe they'll switch it up and get him. I mean, he already became more involved this season than he usually is. And I think it's stepping in the right direction. I think he's finally showing up to play. But I think that for a 6th rounder, it's a little iffy. The only reason why I like that he kept him is that, he can just kind of say, I've got Rudolph later in round 17, and I have Ebron here. What am I going to get in the 6th? That's better. Probably a few things. But at the same time, I love that I can just kind of have my tight ends. It's done, And I don't blame him for keeping it, but I think that for a 6th rounder, it's a little steep.
Yeah, I as someone who's been on the other side of that tight end wall, of not having the guys and needing to stream. It's not fun streaming tight ends in a 14-team 2 tight end league. You get some weird dudes trotting out there at tight end, and you're basically just praying that they vulture somebody else's touchdown. That's literally what you're hoping for. And Eric Ebron he was tight end 13 last year, but if Joe had made the playoffs, Eric Ebron would have showed up for him during the playoff weeks, 17, 14, and 19. But if outside of that, he was extremely mediocre.
Yeah.
Round 7, Deshaun Watson played great, obviously, for Joe before the injury, a practice injury too. So at least that was convenient. You didn't start him, and then he got hurt. But Deshaun Watson could have been Rookie of the Year this year. Probably would have been if he didn't get hurt. Great keeper for Joe, or does that injury have you worried?
I think it's one of the best picks from last year's draft, and I think it's he's gonna love having him in round 7. I think he's gonna be really good. As long as if he goes out and he does something to his leg again within a season, then I'd maybe be like, oh well, I guess this was for nothing. But I think that we don't know. I think it could be just a fluke injury. I don't know that. I think he can come back with today's medical science. I think he's going to be fine.
Yeah, he's already running again, which is great. So that's big news there. We'll skip ahead to round number 9. Watson's number 2 target, Will Fuller. Will Fuller, good player, bad hands. Played really well with Deshaun Watson. Caught I think he had something like 14 touchdowns on 8 catches.
Yeah, he averaged 75% of his targets were for touchdowns.
Yeah, so definitely some statistical regression there, but there is talent. The guy was a first-round pick for a reason. I don't see any problem. I mean, would I like to see him a few rounds later? Of course, but round 9 for a young receiver like Will Fuller going into his 3rd season, by the way, and 3rd-year wide receivers and whatnot. So Will Fuller, good player, decent keeper.
And having Watson with him, that's great, having the 2 together.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes it a lot of fun when you get those 20-point bombs.
Mm-hmm.
From Will Fuller the 5th to Willie Snead the 4th. Willie Snead is a head scratcher. Connor, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that was a bad move. I don't know what happened this past season. I don't know if there's some kind of internal.
Alvin Kamara happened. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I guess that probably. Well, still, Ted Ginn, he couldn't even. Well, I guess they're different style players, but
yeah. But Willie Snead had that injury. He had a suspension. He had new players in the system. They ran a little bit of a different offense than they ran in the past. I think he kind of just got lost in the shuffle. I wouldn't have a problem with someone taking a flyer on Willie Snead, late in next year's draft. But as a 10th round keeper, I think I'd rather just have a 10th round pick.
Yeah, you could have gotten him maybe round 18, round 17, round 16.
Yeah, yeah. So he's still got time to drop him, and I would recommend it. But if he sees something in Willie Snead that the rest of us don't, then by all means, go ahead and make your team worse. We'll appreciate it.
He's I don't know what happened last season. So he's not worth keeping around then.
True story. Moving on to round 11, Jerick McKinnon played pretty well for the Vikings. after Dalvin Cook got hurt, and in tandem with Latavius Murray. But his contract's up. It remains to be seen if Jerick McKinnon is going to remain in Minnesota. My guess is probably not, with Latavius Murray on the books making big money and Dalvin Cook coming back from injury.
They're saying he wants to be a feature back. That's what he wants. So he's not. I just don't see him resigning.
Yeah, and he's probably going to want more money than they're going to be willing to pay a running back when they already have those other guys in the building.
With the way it would go, he wouldn't be. It'd be Cook, and then it would be the speller would be Murray. I don't see McKinnon getting involved. He'd be the third guy anyway. So
yeah,
they're not gonna pay a bunch of money for a guy that's gonna sit on a bench.
You could see him end up in New York with the Giants or Washington. They both could use a running back with his skill set. Washington probably not, just because they have Chris Thompson there. I don't see them bringing in another. I mean, I know McKinnon is a little bit better in the run game, but I don't see them really doing that. The Jets could use a guy like that, but we all know he's just going to end up with the Patriots and get like 2,000 total yards and the whole nine. But I think he's a talented player with a interesting skill set. So hopefully he can get the role he wants, because I think we've all kind of been waiting for the Jerick McKinnon breakout, and it could be coming. Round 13, Martavis Bryant. Do we expect Martavis Bryant to be back on the Steelers next year?
I don't know. I don't think so. Not with Juju there. I think it'd be best if he went somewhere else for fantasy value. I mean, having Big Ben there would be great, but he just seems to not get along having Juju be so good. And I think that if he went somewhere else, he could maybe be,
I think he was totally shook by that whole Juju thing.
Yeah.
Juju becoming like a media darling and, getting all this attention, while Martavis has all this negative attention towards him. And I think he made that comment like, Juju's not better than me. You're crazy. I mean, can someone talk to this guy and tell him not to say that sort of stuff to the media? I mean, for Christ's sake, Juju's better than him, for one thing. I mean, they're different style players, but like Juju uses better technique. Martavis Bryant's an incredible athlete. I mean, do you remember the flip touchdown he scored, or the the between? I mean, there's not that many guys that can do that, And
I mean, I'm sure this would love to look at a lineup that had Antonio Brown with Martavis Bryant, and then you had Juju there. That'd be pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think he's probably going to try to ask for too much money to get himself out.
Yeah, I mean that might make sense. And I mean, I don't think they can probably afford a big contract anyway. It's probably part of the reason they drafted Juju.
Yeah,
I think
outside of Antonio Brown, that's the way they did it for years. Anyway, they drafted a great wide receiver, got some use out of him, drafted another great wide receiver, and then said bye to the next guy.
They've been great at drafting wide receivers.
Yeah.
Like you go back, Emmanuel Sanders they drafted, Mike Wallace. You can go back a little further to Plaxico Burress and Hines Ward, but obviously Antonio Brown, Martavis Bryant, Juju Smith-Schuster.
It seemed like it was always tall guy, fast guy, tall guy, fast guy.
Yeah, right. They're just going in between the different styles of receiver, but yeah, I'm not worried about them finding receiver. Even Eli Rogers is like a decent player. Yeah, they don't need him. He'll end up somewhere else, and I don't mind Joe. I don't mind Joe keeping him in round 13 either.
If he finds out with the right team, that could be huge.
Yeah, he could be. He's going to go get a big contract somewhere, but it might be a short-term one. It might be like 1 year, like $12 million or something, kind of like what Terrell Pryor got.
See him going to the Patriots for like 2 seasons or something.
Yeah, I don't think the Patriots would deal with his nonsense, but Spencer Ware in round 15. The round is fine. Is the player fine?
I mean, it's kind of like a meh, whatever kind of okay to me. I mean, I think West is still going to be there and kind of bothersome to his playing time. If Mahomes were to be god awful and they decide they need to run the ball constantly, maybe he could be a nice 5 to 8 touches a game kind of guy, and maybe get like 8
Kind of
points.
like what Charkandrick West was last year.
Yeah. Maybe, I mean, so with that said, round 15 for that wouldn't be terrible.
The
But
problem for him is that he has a really similar skill set to Kareem Hunt.
Yeah.
And doesn't do anything better than Kareem Hunt.
That's why I said spell. You can't be that.
Yeah, like they're not taking Kareem Hunt off the field unless he's tired. For Spencer Ware, Andy Reid, generally speaking, uses one running back unless he's got a few years back he had Brian Westbrook in Philly, and they used like Corral Buckhalter, on short yardage and stuff like that. But I don't see Spencer Ware having a ton of fantasy utility.
He's a handcuff. That's what he basically.
Right. If because I own Kareem Hunt, if I kept Spencer Ware here, we're not having this conversation. It's like, okay, you had the handcuff, you kept him, whatever. But for Joe, I don't know. I might just rather have the 15th round pick. I know it's late, but I'd rather just throw a dart at a wide receiver or something that late, rather than keeping it back.
You could just get him again, or maybe a round later.
Yeah. Just throw him back and draft him again.
Yeah.
Round 17. This is an example right here of what doing, knowing when your team is done for the year, and kind of packing it in. So Joe made, I think it was, I think Todd Gurley without keeper rights was part of it. Sent it over to you for your championship run. That ultimately fell short, and then
by like 2 points. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, whatever. Kyle Rudolph. Joe picked up a nice keeper in the process. Kyle Rudolph, I want to say last year was like tight end 6,
somewhere around there.
He's always around there too. I mean, tight end 8, and
he's around there.
But what you don't see here is you don't see those big. He really would have let you down in the championship game. But other than that, he was pretty consistent all year, catching a lot of touchdowns. You might have some touchdown regression a little bit, but I think he's an every week start in our league for just about anybody. So good player, interesting trade Joe pulled off to get him here. But the point is he's here now, and he's looking good at tight end.
I mean, you can't do worse in round 17.
Yeah, you could definitely.
You bet not worse. But.
Yeah, I know. We all knew what you meant. Let's talk about some of these players. Joe dropped in round 2. He had Amir Abdullah. Didn't really pan out in Detroit. I think it's pretty obvious why you would drop him. Sammy Watkins, he dropped in round 3.
I like this that he did.
You like dropping Sammy Watkins? Yeah, I wouldn't have liked it if he had kept him, but I wouldn't have killed him over it, because I do think Sammy Watkins is a talented player, but he just didn't put it together. Some of his like next gen stats were like he was a really effective wide receiver in general, but he didn't put up the numbers, which is what's all that matters for fantasy. So
at the end of the day, he wasn't the wide receiver one, and he once again had a little injury scares here and there.
True. True. This is one that you were quite a little critical of. Round 4, Giovanni Bernard, over there in Cincinnati. You said that you didn't like that he dropped him. Defend that.
Jeremy Hill's going to be gone, assuming they don't draft another running back. I think that Mixon and Bernard are going to be kind of a 1-2 punch. And I think that, I think Mixon's going to get most of the carries, no question. Like, Mixon's the guy. But you have the way that Gio Bernard plays, he doesn't need that many touches to have a big-time play. And I think that now that he doesn't have to have Jeremy Hill, like loathing around and getting in his way, and he hopefully will be fully healthy this upcoming season. That was another issue with him this year. I think that he could definitely, assuming the coaching staff works and makes this offense actually run this year, well, they were like a bizarre case this year. Their offense just was non-existent for the longest time. They kind of got it together towards the end a little bit, but I think if the organization can fix up some of the mishaps, and Gio Bernard's going to be that change of pace back, I think that he's going to put up running back 3 numbers. And I think that in the fourth round, with the way that running backs fly off the board, I think that he's probably going to get drafted around round 5, round 6, which, in that light, then maybe it was a great decision to drop him because that he can go get him in the 5th or, maybe I don't think he'll go to by round 8. I think he'll be gone.
Yeah, and he had a pretty strong finish to the season, double-digit points in each of the last 5 games. But I mean, Joe Mixon is the better player, and I'm just for me, it's all about the round. He finishes RB 27 last year, which is a low end number 2, basically, like you said, basically a number 3. And I mean, we've seen this before. He flashes, gets hurt, gets lost in the shuffle a little bit on good offenses. Giovanni Bernard is, I think he's a good number 2 running back, but at the same time, he's still a number 2 running back on his own team, and I probably would have killed Joe for keeping him in the 4th round.
Mixon's yards per carry wasn't that great. I think he's going to be a fine running
well,
back.
Either was Le'Veon Bell's his rookie year, so I think Joe Mixon is a great talent.
I mean, I'm not saying Giovanni Bernard's going to rock everybody's world. I'm just saying with what's available at this point. If I was drafting and I was Joe and I was by round 5 and he was still there, I think I'd add him again to my team.
Yeah, if you look at the running backs that went last year in round 4, you had Doug Martin, Kareem Hunt. So I was, and the Kareem Hunt was a reach too.
All the rookies.
Frank Gore, LeGarrette Blount, and I think Isaiah Crowell was a keeper. But so there wasn't a whole lot. There wasn't a whole lot to be had at that point. I mean, we could look later, but you're basically taking a flyer on a rookie.
I mean,
or more likely you're taking a wide receiver.
Unless McKinnon works out, he's got Todd Gurley and no other running backs.
Yeah, he's got draft picks, and there's still. I think Jerick McKinnon, wherever he ends up, will be startable. Especially in our league. But yeah, I don't think that. I think Joe can get a better player than Giovanni Bernard. I mean, just looking at Joe's roster, he's probably another, at least one really good draft away from contending.
Yeah.
He does have a superstar player. He needs another. We'll talk about his needs in a minute, but he's got some players. Round 5 was pretty obvious. Carson Palmer, dude retired, so we'll move right past that. But it does create a need for quarterback, which we'll talk about in a second. In round 8, he cut DeAndre Washington. Do you have any problem with that?
No, we've seen him play for a couple years now. I don't know what's up with Lynch. Do you know if he's coming back for another season or not?
He's under contract. I don't know if he's actually going to come back. I mean, who cares?
With Gruden there, maybe it'll spark him up to want to play again. Maybe I don't. I can see
maybe I don't know. Marshawn Lynch needs to be the biggest personality in the room, I think. So,
but even still, with Washington and then Richards, is the other guy there?
Richard.
I mean, honestly, I don't think either of those guys are going to end up being who they. I think maybe they should draft somebody this year or something.
Yeah, I think the starting running back. I think the best fantasy running back for the Raiders is not currently on the roster.
Yeah, so I feel like that's smart. It's just, and especially round 8 too. I think at the time it was like, ooh, that could be a good pick in the future, but maybe like a round 17, 18 flyer. Maybe I guess with the There was no need to keep him there, and plus now it frees up a pick in the middle of this whole block he would have had right here. And the rounds 6 through 10 can still get you a really good player if you had the right eye for it.
Absolutely. Round 12, Antonio Gates. You told me off the air that you think it's time for him to move on. Is Hunter Henry finally the straw that broke the Antonio Gates camel's back?
Well, I mean, Hunter Henry didn't show up a lot, but I think Gates
a couple games with no catches.
Yeah, I think Gates kind of at this point is just trying to get the stats up a little bit more. I think that's all he's playing for at this point, and that's just fine. The guy's amazing. He had an amazing career, but he's not the main guy. And honestly, in that offense with Keenan Allen playing full year and some of the other pieces that they're going to have coming together, Williams there is probably going to be much better this season. I think I think it's Rivers doesn't have to go, oh, I need my safety net and Gates anymore. I feel like he's got so many weapons in that offense. I mean, he always had weapons, but at this point, Gates is just an old man, and they throw him a bone sometimes. I don't think it's worth owning anymore. Maybe if you're really bad at tight end and you're in like round 15 through 18, maybe maybe I'll either just drop him or I'll have my agency tight end that I would have just had anyway.
Yeah, if he plays this year, he'll start a few UML games. You better believe he'll probably start for somebody all season, but I don't think it'll be the same team. He'll be the Anthony Fasano.
Yeah, he'll get a bone every once in a while. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, it's like, okay, well he can catch two passes for 9 yards, but one of them's a touchdown.
How many more catches till Gonzalez? We could try this.
Catches, yeah, right. He's got a ways to go in that regard, but after that, John Brown I thought was an interesting cut. This was one of those players a couple of years back that Joe had, and we were all like, oh wow, Joe got himself a good prospect here, but this weird sickle cell thing that he has and leg injuries, I think this was time to move on from him as well.
I love this because I've been there with a wide receiver that I thought was talented, and I stuck with him and and then it's just at the end of the day, it's just a waste of a pick that you could have in something else. You just can't dwell on it.
Yeah, wide receiver is going to have to be a big position of focus for Joe this offseason. Trevor Siemian, whatever. Latavius Murray, he could have kept, I suppose, but I don't have a problem with him getting rid of Latavius Murray. Again, same kind of argument as Gio,
Yeah.
And then Laquan Treadwell and Chris Conley aren't good at football, so that kind of prevents them from being good in fantasy football too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are Joe's keepers. Looking ahead to the draft, what's Joe's biggest position to need, Connor?
It's always going to be running. It's got to be running back. I would go heavy on running back. Maybe if there's that right wide receiver in one of those early rounds, that it's just like the value, like maybe in the third round. He's like, I should go running back again, but AJ Green some fall because he didn't have a good year last year, assuming he doesn't get kept. Maybe that's where you're like, well, the value for third round for AJ Green, I'm going to take it. I could see it. I wouldn't be upset about that, but I think he's got to go running back heavy early because if he doesn't have three guys, at least semi-capable of starting, then you're already in trouble. He can find. I mean, with the wide receivers he does have, I think they've got some upside. Fuller and Bryant could easily be, wide receiver twos without a problem. Maybe one of them finds their one numbers every couple weeks. I think you just need a consistent wide receiver to go with some of those young guys, and it should look pretty good for him. Running back, he can't be starting Spencer Ware to start the first season.
Yeah. Yeah, unless Kareem Hunt's hurt or whatever. But yeah, Joe definitely needs some running backs. I think wide receivers got to be a big position. Quarterback too. Pretty much everything other than tight end.
Yeah. That's the great thing about having those tight ends set. Now you can, like round 8, round 12, round 14, you can spend those picks just gambling on stuff. You don't have to worry about completing your round. You can just gamble. Maybe you want to try a young quarterback and don't really care about getting that guaranteed number 2 in the early rounds. Maybe you went heavy on running backs, so you need wide receivers. You can gamble on 3 of them. With your
last thing Joe needs to do is draft, Kirk Cousins in the second round. That's the last thing Joe needs to do.
Yeah.
And I think you're spot on there. He's got picks in around 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'd like to see 2, maybe even 3 running backs in there.
Yep.
Like you said, if there's the thing is, if he gets a guy like AJ Green, then definitely take 3 running backs. It's like, okay, well now you got AJ Green, wide receiver 1 solved. You're actually looking pretty good at wide receiver at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And then down here he's got a round 8 open. Go grab Sam Darnold or whoever the rookie quarterback you like, and then grab another guy later on. Go get Josh Allen or something, or and then you can grab your whoever the Broncos starter is going to be. And I think Joe will be in a good spot. Is he going to make the playoffs next year?
If he has from that round 2 to round 5, could either ruin him and make him another one and done season that he's got to rebuild all over again, or I could see him doing a great job in round 2 through 5 for the wrong reasons for this season, and he doesn't make it. I feel like his team is totally 50-50. I could totally see him making the playoffs, but I think if he drafts totally right, I don't think he will, because I think they'll take a lot of young talent that'll take a couple years.
Yeah, I see Joe going really, really rookie heavy, and and getting back into contention.
I mean, having Watson every week, you're probably. I think he's going to be that annoying team that everybody that's trying to go undefeated again next year. They're going to go up against him and say, "Oh crap, this guy could put up."
Yeah, like you got 2 really good players on bye week or whatever, and he's got no one, and Deshaun Watson's crushing stuff. Yeah, that would be rough. One last thing, we did have AJ. He did pick the first draft position, and he's got Christian McCaffrey there. Obviously, he's not going to keep him. I'd like to see him parlay Christian McCaffrey into a couple players, even if it doesn't end up being anything crazy. But I think Christian McCaffrey can get you a decent haul. Yeah. And
last for Macklin, I remember, and it worked out. I got Elliott, and then I got a good late wide receiver.
The last 2 first choice tournament winners have gone on to win the UML Bowl the following season. So this could be really big, and he obviously hasn't done his keepers yet. I see a lot of space opening up on this team.
Yeah,
and plus. It's been a good week for AJ. He's an Eagles fan. They won the Super Bowl, obviously, and then his bowling team won the league title as well. And due to his strength as a team captain, so good week for AJ.
Keep the wins coming. Maybe he will win it.
That's right, and he wins the first choice tournament. Everyone, watch out for AJ in 2018. I'm telling you. Team AJ. All right, Connor. Thanks so much for joining us today. Getting up really early as you are wont to do. And if anybody wants their podcast done, just do your keepers, guys. That's all you got to do. You get your very own podcast with Connor. I had to get up at 7 a.m. to do this today. 7 a.m. You know how early that is? Well, it's 10 on the East Coast, but still. Anyway, you guys, thanks for joining us. Any last words, Connor?
I'm happy to shit on everybody's teams that come through whenever you get your keepers done.
That's right. Get them done so Connor can shit on them. You heard it here first.
I do my keepers. Who does mine? Do you?
What you can pick. I mean, I'll do it. I mean, I'll be on it. But if you want to make your dad do it, that'd be kind of funny. Anyway, Connor, you got to run, I know, so I'll let you get going. Everybody, konnichiwa, bitches.